Let's hang on.
What's happening, troops? I am Jordan, I'm an online strength coach, and what I'm going to be bringing to you today is essentially how to write your own gym program, right? Or how to write the perfect gym program. Now, you might be thinking the fucking perfect program doesn't exist, yada yada yada. Yes, it does, and I'm about to show you. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this video to you is because there's a lot of bullshit out there, right, in terms of fitness, health, nutrition, exercise, and my job is to cut through that bullshit and give you the ticket, the golden ticket, the thing that's going to take you from where you're at just now to where you want to be. And I'm sick and tired of seeing all the shit out there. So without further ado, let's get into this thing. So as we get into this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down the perfect program, or how to write the perfect program for you. Now, I'm going to kind of speak in terms of an example, because an example is an easy thing to use and it just makes the whole thing kind of run a little bit more fluidly. So first of all, it starts off with the goal, and that's pretty relatively straightforward. But most of the people that are kind of looking, hopefully watching this video, have the goal of getting stronger and building more muscle, right? Now, there's a whole other caveat to this that comes into play, which is nutrition, which I'm going to release another video on that another day.
A scoop of protein.
This is just purely on the programming point, but then we need to then take it down to experience, right? So how experienced are we? And again, that's going to come into play in terms of how much volume we need to do and intensity, all that other stuff. But I'm just assuming that whoever's writing this perfect program already knows how to squat, they know how to bench, they know how to deadlift, they know how to strict press, they know how to do some pull-ups, like they know the fundamental movements. The last piece of the puzzle is just putting it all together in a perfect program. So how do we break it down? How it works is I am the fan of always starting with strength. Now, do you need to? Absolutely not. But in order to, for me, in my opinion, the perfect program should start with strength. And the reason for this is because a stronger muscle has the potential to be a bigger muscle. You're able to move more force through space, and then you're able to recruit more muscle fibers and accumulate more volume over time. To put it in a perspective, if somebody has a 140 kilo bench press or a 315 pound bench press compared to a guy that has a 100 kilo bench press, who is likelier to have the bigger chest? The guy that's stronger. So that's why we would always start with strength. And I have the perfect progression here for you. Now, I've got a kind of 6 week or 7 week sequence or progression that is essentially plug and play, and this can be done with any movement, but let's just assume that we're doing it with either a squat, bench, deadlift, chin up, strict press, one of those 5 key movements. And week 1 you would test and start with a heavy 5. So what you would do is you would warm up. Again, I'm not going to go into warm-ups and stuff like that in this video. This is just purely about the program. But you'd warm up, get everything ready, and you would build up to a 5 rep max or a heavy 5 for that day. Now, it doesn't have to be an all-time PB. This is the rest of your program is going to be based off of that. You hit. Let's say, for example, let's actually write down. You're doing bench press and you hit 100 kilos. That's my heavy 5, right? You're strong boy.
Yeah, buddy. It's on now.
Then from there, you would then back off, going to 90%, 3 sets of 5 of that. That'd be 90 kilos. Then you do week 3, 95. Week 4, that's when it gets harder. So green, slightly easier. Dark green's getting a little bit harder. Orange, that's getting into a kind of testing mode here. 100 kg. And then on week 5, you would retest your 5 rep max. Now, if you are somewhat a beginner following this sort of protocol, there's no way that you can't make gains doing this. I have done this with countless clients. I've done this with countless people online. Anybody that's following the Gainline Grip program has actually been through this progression already, and everybody's seen great results from this. And then you would retest your heavy 5. Say I got 105. Boom. That's a 5 kilo increase in 5 weeks on my heavy 5 rep max. Now, it's not always as simple as this. I totally understand. That's why these numbers here can be subject to change, and you could start at 85%. If you're a little bit more advanced, go to 90% and then 95%. And then maybe you might need a deload, or maybe you might need something else, but those numbers are interchangeable, right? That is just a kind of top end set. You could even go lighter than that and even do the progression for even longer. However, people are always keen to jump the gun, and I'm aware of that. So that's where this kind of comes into play. But then also these numbers here can be subject to change also, and it could be anywhere from 5-3 to 5 reps. Okay, 3 to 5 reps, 3 to 5 reps. So you can see instantly how you've just opened yourself up there to more progressions, because you could start at 85% of your heavy 5, 3 sets of 3, 90%, 3 sets of 3, 95%, 3 sets of 3, and then you can go back to 85%, but then do 3 sets of 5, 90%, 3 sets of 5, 95%, 3 sets of 5. The progression is endless. There's an art to it. You can just consistently find ways to progress. When people say they're stuck, they're not stuck, they're just trying to train too heavy, too frequently. So we just follow on from the progression I said, just for talking's sake. Heavy 5 is 100. They did 3 sets of 5 at 90% of that, 95, 100, 105. They would then deload at 70 to 80% of whatever that heavy 5 was. And then week 7 or week 1, you would start again at the week 2 percentage weight. So from your heavy set of 5, you would go back to week 2 and you would go 90% of that heavy set of 5, and you would just keep repeating the cycle. Now, that is starting with strength. You could do that for your squat, your bench, the deadlift, your overhead press, even strict pull-ups. If you're doing them assisted, you could take that weight into consideration, or if you're using weight. And it's always a great thing to do. And that 5 isn't a golden number. It's not a golden rule. You can replace that 5 with any fucking number you want. I would tend to maybe stay away for a majority of people, that kind of 1 to 2 range. I would say anywhere from this 3 to 6 range is great, especially for building strength as you kind of get into these higher numbers. Not that these numbers won't work, of course they'll work. There's that old thing, like if you're not doing sets of 3, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12, like if you're doing sets of 9, you're not going to get any gains. Obviously that's not true. Yeah, anything from between 3 and 5, and then you start getting 6, 7, 8. It's again, the progressions can be the exact same, and you can see right here that there is literal endless progression. You could run that progression for 12 weeks working with 3 sets of 5, and then you can change it and start doing sets of 4, sets of 6, sets of 8, sets of 10. It's endless, but starting with strength and having a progression in your foundational movements is key to a perfect program. Next, accessory bodybuilding, whatever you want to call it. This kind of works on a little kind of continuum here, or axis, right? So I've got a gains axis on the left, and then a volume axis underneath. Now, what this axis represents is sets per body part per week. Now, the ideal range from studies, I didn't read the studies personally. I watched a video on someone who read the studies, so studies from studies. But I did do a little bit of research and a little bit of digging into this. And Jeff Nippard, who, if you're watching my video, you probably know who that guy is. He has done a bunch of videos on what is the ideal kind of volume, rep range, set range for kind of working body parts. And they found that, especially for people for the most part, this zone here between the 10 to 20% range is ideal. Now, to some of you out here, that might not sound like a lot, but I would often then come back and say, well, maybe you're not training hard enough. So are those sets intense enough? If you're doing 10 sets, working sets of chest, and you're working hard enough, you'll reap the benefits from that. Sometimes more isn't always better. Now, that's not to say that you can't get gains within that 20 plus set range, or even in that 30 plus set range. But when you get beyond there, it's almost sort of like diminishing returns. Like, why would you want to do 30 sets of hamstrings? 30 sets of stiff leg deadlifts, like the kind of risk to reward or the return benefits kind of start. The more sets you do, the kind of further along it gets. So that's a general rule of thumb that we'll follow. So kind of how are we putting all that together? So I've kind of I've listed out a kind of a simple split that, in my opinion, for someone that's looking to train 3 to 4 days a week is absolutely perfect. So what you would start off with is, under those progressions, you would kind of split things into a push day and a pull day, and split that into, again, upper, lower, upper, lower. So a push upper would be a bench, a push lower would be squat, a pull upper would be like a chin up, a pull lower would be like a deadlift. A push upper also kind of comes into strict press, so I've added pull ups into this as well. So with squats, you would start with that progression that we spoke on, into your 10 to 20 sets of a lower body exercises. And this is where it doesn't really matter. It does matter, but it doesn't matter as much as you think it does. In terms of like exercise selection, it's more, a lot of it can be down to personal preference. What does your body, what do you like to use, what do you like to enjoy, what machines does your gym have, what are some weakness areas? Do you have weak hamstrings in comparison to your glutes or your quads, or whatever your weaknesses may be? Again, that could be another topic for another video, but you would just do 10 to 20 sets of lower body movements. Same with bench. Then you do 10 to 20 sets of upper body movements, chest, back, shoulders, arms, deadlifts into 10 to 20 sets of lower body movements. And then I've got a strict press day in here, but I've also got with pull-ups in there as well, so following the same progression, into 10 to 20 sets again of upper body movements. Now, sets of what? Again, This can be broken down into many different ways, but a general rule of thumb is anywhere between 2 and 5 sets on one exercise, or between 8 and 15 reps. That's a really, really good rule of thumb. You can't really go wrong with that. And again, I've got a little bit of a progression here that I've done again with some of the Gainline guys, got some great results. And this progression can run alongside the strength progression that you were doing. Week 1, 15 rep max into some back offsets. I've got in a box here what a back offset is. You would take 10 to 30% off your working weight and then perform sets there. So you build up to 15 rep max sets chest press, and you go as heavy as you can for 15 reps with good form, then back off into 1 to 3 working sets. Then same machine, same movement, but build up to 12 rep max, then back offs, week 3, 10, week 4, 8, week 5, 6, and then on week 6, you would retest that 15 rep max and see if you made gains and then restart. But you could restart on different machines, different movements, and again, you can see how the progression is endless. So that's the perfect program. That's how to write it. I hope you've taken great value from that. If you want to find out more, what you can do is there's a link to my free Facebook group where I put this shit and more involved. If you want some one-to-one help, you can also work with me directly. If you don't want to work with me directly, but you're interested in finding out more about how I structure programs and how I build programs like this, there's also the Gainline Strength program, which is the cheapest and best monthly program fucking out there. I'm not gonna lie, it's the best. So that's all. Anything else you need, don't forget to like, subscribe, do the things, make the comments, and I'll speak to you guys soon. Peace.
Yeah, buddy!